Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. It's going to be a fun, and we've got a friend of the whole Fateless community and the scene that all of us come from in Mr. Darth Micro. It's been a while. It's good to catch up with you again. How you doing, man?
Doing good, man. It's good to have a chat with you again. It's been a minute.
Heck
Are
yeah,
you Darth Micro now, or are you just DM? Like, I feel like
You know,
the branding's flipped, right?
Well, I don't know if it okay. So DM stands for Darth Microtransaction,
Of course,
and
yeah.
that's my Twitch name. And I'm like 80% Twitch, 20% YouTube. I feel like at this point. So it's like that's how people know me. But people say DM because Darth Microtransaction is just it's a mouthful. You're not gonna say that.
DM is like direct message. It works. Like you people are like, oh, where did they come? It's DM. Yeah, this is DM.
Well, when it was Diablo, people thought it was like Diablo Master or Dungeon Master. So I'm like, no, that doesn't stand for that.
You
at
were
all.
like, yeah, whatever, man. Ride the wave.
Yeah, whatever you want it to be. Yeah.
Well, I think originally, because we were playing Diablo Immortal back in the day, and didn't you have to change it to DM because someone stole Darth Micro or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. Someone did take my name. Yeah, that's true. That happened.
Someone stole it.
I know the Darth Micro lore better than the man himself. So
did you ever reach out to did you ever reach out to the guy who got it, or did you?
No,
or you just like whatever?
The people that take your name aren't doing it because they like you. Like, you know what I mean? They're taking it because they know.
There was actually there was this time when I was going for arena reset in Raid, and I changed my name to something else quickly, like literally for a little bit. I did a video about it, and then when I tried to change it back, there was like, and they were going for arena reset as well. There was about 50 Hellhades in this kind of like plat reset, and I was just like, okay, I can't get my name back firstly, but also there's loads of me now. Like it's just gone
all over the place.
Got a bit silly, yeah.
They're like, wow, he's got a lot of time, a lot of accounts. Like that's impressive.
So when I was changing my name on YouTube from DM Diablo 4, and I realized, okay, like I'm playing PoE in these other games, like I gotta change the name. I was changing it. I was gonna change it to Darth Microtransaction TV is what it became because I already have Darth Microtransaction the OG channel. So I was like, I gotta add TV or something under it. But when I was doing, I went to change the @ because you know how you have the @ and there was a guy that took every form of Darth Microtransaction. So he has like Darth Microtransaction TV, like YT, like he's got like all of them. And so I would, it's like, why? He doesn't do anything with them. And he would pretend to be me, I guess. And then, DM people on my channel and stuff. So YouTube banned the guy for impersonation, right? Because he was like trying to scam people and stuff. And so I'm like, great. Can I get my @s back? And they're like, nah, the @s are taken. Yeah, by the guy you just banned.
Like,
and so
dude, help him out. Oh man,
they're like, actually, we have better plans for this. Like, we'll use this later. Like,
what's funny is we've talked about this at Fateless, and like when someone starts playing our game, we want them to be able to put in the username that they want. Like, we don't want someone to play our game and type in Hellhades. Hellhades is taken. Hellhades 1. Hellhades 1 is taken.
Yeah.
Just let me play. So we did kind of set it up in a way, I believe, right, guys? Where people can
give the
name
numbers
they want to
afterwards.
be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be anyone you want to be.
you did like the hashtag number thing to solve that.
Exactly.
Okay. You can be Darth Micro in our game, DM.
Wonderful. I love that. That won't be a problem.
Well, speaking of that, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we had a few fun topics today, and talking about audience crossover and kind of like the journey of switching between kind of the industry that we're working in at Godforge and the stuff that DM covers with Path of Exile and the ARPG type stuff. So Simon, I'll let you go ahead and kind of kick it off.
Yeah, because we were chatting beforehand. I was just kind of like, well, you've come from a space, on YouTube specifically, and some of your streaming where you're covering gotcha games, and then you've got into this kind of like ARPG genre, which typically they don't cross over well. Like that group, that audience, they don't like each other. Like they don't feel like
that's what they say, man. This is what
the thing is also, I was a big World of Warcraft player, and I wasn't into like big microtransactions, that type of stuff. It's like a subscription game, albeit I bought gold now and then. Like if I wanted some cool stuff, I did the microtransaction, but I just did it in a dodgy site type of way. So I guess let's kick it off by just sort of saying, firstly, how did you even make the jump? I guess what, brand new audience, or some of the audience did cross over?
We talked about this a little bit last time, I think. So it was like a not that weird of a jump, because what happened was I went Star Wars because I saw an ad, because I'm a Star Wars huge fucking
Yeah.
nerd. So I went Star Wars, and then Star Wars. I saw a Mobile Gamer. I love that guy, right? Trevor. He did an ad for Raid, and so I was like, this game looks interesting. I like Mobile Gamer a lot. I always watch them, so I was like, I'll try the game. Got roped into Raid. Started playing Raid. I just like the dopamine of opening shit. I mean, like even in ARPGs, it's the same thing. Like I'm always gambling my items, trying to make them better, and you know they become dog shit or whatever. So it's like the whole like gambling aspect of video games has always been a thing for me since the beginning. So, so then I played the game from Raid, and then I tried all these other. I mean, everything from Genshin, you know, whatever Weeb anime was out that day, like all this garbage. And then Diablo Immortal came out, and obviously that was a mobile game, and it was like it looked kind of different but fun. You know, I tried everything, so I tried that one too. And you know, it went better than most of the other ones, and it was actually like, in my opinion, it's a different topic, but in my opinion, Diablo Immortal was actually a good Diablo game. They just ruined it with the resonance system. But like, you know, people who actually play, it's like, oh, this game's actually fun, like it's pretty decent. But then you know, you have to pay to win and all that stuff they ruined it with. But that one was fun. And then you know, from Diablo to Diablo isn't really that big of a jump. And then Immortal, you know, you're playing, you're a streamer and a YouTuber and all that, so you're playing it on the PC literally anyway on the Battle.net platform. And then they come out with another Diablo, so you just install the next one. And it's, you know, it's not really like it's a completely different genre, but like I went there like on the spectrum, like it just slowly slid on over, you know. And then here we are.
But do you think that your community, some of your community have like come on that journey, or is it just a case of, you know what, I've now pretty much got a new bunch?
No, I mean, like it's surprising. Like I'll see a decent amount of people, you know, that will arrive on Twitch and be like, "Hey, man, been watching you since the Raid days," or Star Wars even sometimes, and people will be like, "Hey, it's good to see you on the Raid," and I'll click on their name to be like, "How long have you been following?" to see if I get their full of it, you know, because sometimes people pretend, but yeah, you click on it, it's like, "Oh no, shit, you've been watching since like 2019 or something," you know, it's like, "Oh shit, you've been here a minute." So no, it's more than you think.
This is my thing though. Like I think those audiences. I mean, you just kind of laid it out in a lot of ways, right? Like, okay, there's all these, you know, when you go out, you're going for like the big drop. You want the big like I said, the dopamine hit, like the legendary to drop or whatever it is. ARPG, like that all translated for me. Like, I mean, I was always a huge Diablo fan all the way through. I played Diablo Immortal to the point where I was like, all right, I don't want to spend infinite money to actually continue playing here.
Yeah.
Path of Exile, like so much of Path of Exile is all the same things that you see in these gacha games. I mean, I think that people are like those audiences. They, you know, there's a lot of talk about like what people like and what they don't like, and I will say that monetization can ruin a game that's not designed for that. But I think that when it's done, when it's like, oh, this is appropriate, this works. I'm just collecting heroes, or I'm doing this type of stuff. I think it's similar audiences, but yeah, I mean that's.
But then we've also said that we are very unlikely to launch on Steam because Steam hates this type of game. Like the PC community, and that's in effect what it is. They look at this type of game as kind of like a non-game, right? So
it's those loudest voices though. This is what I'm trying to get at, I guess, in a sense, right? It's the people that are like, oh, you know, you're ruining the purity of this and that. It's like, okay, but that's not everybody's opinion. Like if that's your opinion, that's totally fine, 100%. But that's not everybody's opinion. Like, you know, things have changed, like you said, since the World of Warcraft days when it was like, you know, hiding away, going to I don't even remember what those sites were.
Oh, dude, like the amount of times it's like, I really want this mount, or like whatever it is. Like, I'm back.
There you go. Exactly.
I'm back on this damn site buying gold. You know, it's like.
It's also people in this genre, like in the Godforge Raid type of genre, they don't use Steam to play the game. Like Raid has a Steam client, and like 1,000 people use it. Yeah, their player base is what daily, like over 100,000. So you're talking about like 1% of people will even use the Steam client.
Yeah, it's even bigger than that. But yeah, exactly. They've got their own launcher. You know, they're incentivizing their launcher. You know, so the players can get a little bit extra in a great way, which I think is, you know, it's exactly what we'll be doing. But yeah, I mean, I just think Steam is the place, and it's great. But there's an expectation that, okay, I've paid my couple dollars, or it's in beta, and it should be perfect, and there should be no bugs, and there should never be another transaction from here until forever, right? In a lot of ways, not everybody, again, but yeah, so it's just I think that is a different audience, but I do think that, like, you know, people that are playing Diablo, especially Diablo Immortal, people that are playing
Immortal for sure.
Path of Exile, I think like you said, you probably have a lot more OGs in there than.
I mean, I wasn't.
Yeah, go on.
Go on, Simon.
I was just going to say, like, so Diablo Immortal, it ended up finding its own player base, which probably wasn't the kind of like hardcore Diablo player, because it didn't feel the same. Like the style of game, although it's obviously built on the same structure and what have you as a Diablo game, it was built more in line with, honestly, our genre. It was built more in line with a kind of like mobile, gotcha style. So I guess that they believed there was a lot more crossover perhaps than there was. And maybe there was. I mean, it was a really successful game in terms of, its financial performance.
Most successful Blizzard game.
but ultimately, it took a load of heat, like a ton of heat, because it didn't kind of...
On launch, on announcement, it took heat, multiple memes just out of the announcement thing that still I hear in my chat every single day, but you're not wrong in the aspect of, like, hardcore Diablo players. They actually did try. It's like I feel like hardcore Diablo players, a lot of them did try it, because most of the people that I know from the guild that we were in, I mean, Brad was in the guild, he could attest to it. Like, a lot of them were Diablo 2 players, and they tried the game out, and it wasn't so much that they absolutely or PC elitist loyalists as much as they are Diablo enjoyers. Like, they're going to play anything that's Diablo related. They're going to try them. I mean, this is basically what's been happening with the Diablo franchise specifically, is they're basically milking the fuck out of the name. It is what it is. They're taking the Diablo name and they're putting they can do as many expansions, and we're doing another expansion in 2016. They're going to just keep pumping Diablo content. I mean, that's what happens in the gaming thing. You buy out a product, or you have a product with a name, you take the name and you just drag it until it's, basically dead. So, they're going to continue to do this with Diablo as well. Some of the games will be good, some of them will not be very good. But, the people that, it's like me with Star Wars. I'm going to watch every Star Wars product no matter how bad they get, because I want to, I want to.
There's not enough time in the day. How do you get through that?
I mean, you just endure it. It's like taking your medicine. It's like, I signed on to be a Star Wars fan. I want to know. Maybe I'm not going to like them, but like, I want to know. And you can make the arguments about, well, you're supporting, a franchise that you think is, wasting that. You can make all the arguments, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I like Star Wars. I want to see what's happening with an IP I enjoy, regardless if I agree or disagree. And so there's people that will do the same thing. And so for that reason, you have people to play them more, though. I don't think as many people stuck with it that were just kind of testing to see what happened with their game Diablo, right? But in terms of the original player base, you'll see that as well. And I think in ARPGs has some crossover, to Sham's point here. There's a little bit of a Venn diagram that's like just gamers in Jimro that just want to see what games are happening. Like Path of Exile 2 has a lot of people that played it or still play it that actually don't like Path of Exile at all, like at all. Like, they literally just wanted to try the next big game. I mean, the player base was huge on launch, and it's dwindled down because of the slow updates, et cetera. It's early access and yada yada. So, there's probably some crossover between the people that go to work and run a gacha game on their phone automatic and look at it while they're doing their work, and then they go home and they'll play a casual PC game. Like, there's probably some crossover. I don't know.
We do know that a lot of this kind of like style of gamer is pretty much an old MMO player, so the World of Warcrafts or whatever, EverQuests, the games, they're the games they used to play. They don't have time to play those games anymore. So like you say, they go to work, they're playing on their phone now, and they're trying to scratch the same sort of itch, but it's not as in-depth. It's not as kind of like, I guess, all encapsulated in terms of your time. And, so there's got to be a bit of a crossover. I mean, I guess MMO and ARPG, again, there will be those interconnecting kind of groups that would go into those as well. But I do think, like you say, that there's kind of like, does it kind of scratch the itch, and does it fill the need of what that person has got? And for us, it's definitely the slightly older gamer that is now basically a full-time worker. Is in the office, needs something to do whilst they're on their lunch break, or they're going for a poo or whatever. Like, bam, out comes the phone.
That for me, it's like, okay, so a couple points there. You said like old MMO gamer. In my opinion, most gamers who are still gamers were all old MMO gamers. Like, I mean, you talk to almost anyone, everyone played World of Warcraft, or they played RuneScape, or they played some, like, old MMOs were the gaming genre, in my opinion. Like, so you had some ARPG, you had Diablo 2 players, etc. But like, old MMOs were like a huge chunk of the gamer audience that kind of have lost a home because MMOs basically just fell off a cliff and became bad. And then they also started to get a lot of these gacha mechanics, et cetera, in it, which, you know, you play MMOs for 20 years, you don't want gacha mechanics in your game, et cetera. So, you know, and it's more of an Eastern style MMO, but, you know, still regardless, you know, MMOs were a large chunk of the players, but I would say that I'd put it this way, I think, because it's like, I don't know if there's necessarily a gigantic overlap, but what I would say is that there's some overlap on like every genre of gamers that probably play some mobile games too, just because the tech is there now. And, you know, like you're saying, there at work, et cetera. But the type of guy you're describing, Simon, where it's like a guy who goes to work, doesn't have time to game anymore in place, that's probably still not the core base of like where ARPGs are, because ARPGs aren't completely the other side of the fence. Like a casual Path of Exile 1 gamer doesn't really, I mean, like it exists, but like not really. Like if you're playing this game for
casual
10
PoE
years,
1, there is no casual PoE 1.
Yeah, it's like you're not
I mean,
really.
what's your
like,
kind of like average age of a viewer? Do you know?
35 to 54, like pretty
But
massive.
it is actually the same
No, it's
demo.
the same-
Yeah,
it's
I thought it might be younger, but actually, yeah, it's the same demo.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I
no,
mean
it's
that group in general, like, you know, what we call gamers. I mean, like if you look younger than that, it's everyone. Everyone is literally a gamer. I think it's, what do they say, like 90% if you're under 13, 90%.
Yeah, but they don't have those kind of like long attention spans. Like it's
way different now.
Yeah, like
different,
they're like 30-minute maximum match environment, right? So it's like, okay, we'll play Valorant, we'll play League, all of those, and even shorter actually. But it's all of those are kind of like tuned now to have
Roblox,
that kind of like short period of time, right?
minutes.
So it's
I feel
and
like
then get your dopamine hit.
the younger generation is more mobile and console than it was the one when like we were growing up. Like when we were growing up, hanging out with your friends in high school, you'd be talking about, you know, Diablo 2 or the
Dude,
StarCraft.
it's just straight mobile. It's
Yeah,
just straight
a
mobile.
lot
Like,
of the mobile. Yeah.
But now, like when I go to family events, you know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and stuff, and I'm talking with like my cousins, man, they don't talk about anything on PC. It's just like, oh, they're playing Clash Royale on their phone, or they're playing Fortnite, or the next Spider-Man game on the console. They don't talk about PC at all.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I was talking to somebody who was talking about marketing, the next wave of marketing, and like where they see things going, and they were talking about how like Roblox, you know, like it's such a pivotal moment in so many people's lives right now. Like that's what everybody, like I said, with it, even up to like 13, 14, 15, a lot of these people, these kids are playing these games. So you're thinking like, well, okay, what is that demographic gonna love? But when I look at the games that Athene's playing, because I think people are like, oh, Roblox, it's so different. I think that people just aren't actually trying these games. Because I'll tell you what Roblox is. Roblox is mobile games. It's like
the platform.
So there's obbies, which is an obstacle course, and you just go to the end, and they spam you with ads for making things easier. Like, right. oh, it looks like you fell off and died. Don't you want to just fly to the end? Right. So that's one. Then there's like build your own like town. I'm blanking on what the name of that is, but it's like anyway, I'll remember the name. But basically, it's like, you know, you'll be standing there, you'll just be generating currency, and then you'll be able to build the next building. The next building will give you more currency, or maybe some other thing. But I mean, they're just mobile games, right? So like I feel like what we're gonna, the next generation of gamers are just gonna be like, oh, we just do well. Like I feel like microtransactions, they'll just be
they will go through the roof,
completely like
the norm. The norm.
But I think that in that the interstitial, like the 20s into like the 30s, right? So like transitioning into what we're calling, you know, like the ARPG gamers, or even just, I think we're just colloquializing the word gamer. I think the people in between, that's a group that I'm sort of like interested to see where it goes, because I think that they are also playing on their phones, but they're still playing console. It's still playing it's still playing a little bit of League, which I think which always surprises me. Like
I still play a little bit of League.
You play a little bit of League, right? But all these, you know, every single, I mean, I feel like a retail game that's not going to have DLC is like a rarity now. It's like weird to see that, you know what I mean? Or that will get a lot of traction, right? They'll always be like, oh shit, you know, we gotta get our DLC out immediately, or we're gonna miss the boat, which is true.
But you see it as well, don't you? So you see games which have always been successful, right? So take a FIFA style game. been successful since I can remember, like having a console. Right, as soon as it came out, it's just been one of the top bought products. But where did it really like financially start to do well? Ultimate Team, basically, when they introduced gotcha mechanics, and then their profit just went through the roof. And now that's their main focus, is like, how do we make sure that that feels like a product, and that is with a younger audience as well, by the way. That's like a, you know, probably 15 to 25 core audience.
Okay, because I would argue that like collecting is this core thing. Collecting and growing are kind of these core human nature things. You know what I mean? They're just like, you can see it with anybody, like anybody that plays these types of games, they're tapping into something that's primal. You know what I mean? And I'm not always saying that that's a good thing. Some of these games, you're like, well, what's going on here?
It's a core mechanic of gameplay, and I think that's why you see a lot of pushback related to it, because you take a core lifeblood of a game that makes a game good, and then you basically sell it back to the player. And I think a lot of people don't like that, because what happens is, instead of basically the value of the game and the game loop coming from my time, skill, and knowledge, is instead how fucking fat is my wallet. Like, I don't think people necessarily find that to be engaging gameplay from an OG standpoint. So when you're looking at okay, what's the crossover of like OG Diablo players and like mobile games and all that, it's like, okay, well, there's a thing going on, which is that they are gamers. So like people that played like Diablo 2 back in the day, like Brad, he was an old Diablo gamer, right? You got these people, these are gamers, like through and through. They grew up in the arcade age, they started playing stuff on PC, it came out, like these people they've done it all. And you could argue arcades were the first microtransactions if you want. So they're willing to put money into the game to play it. Okay? But it's when you're talking about games, what happens is you'll have ARPG enjoyers that are enjoying gaming in general, and then they start playing mobile games because of a logistical accessibility, where it's like, I'm going to play on my PC, my preferred platform, then I'm going to go lay in bed and watch TV, and while I'm there, maybe I have an iPad.
But I would argue that group that you're calling gamers, like, this is what we were talking about, they've aged up, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play WoW like 16 hours a day. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that anymore. Why? Because I've got a family, I've got a company that we're taking care of. I've got I mean, I don't have as much time to invest. And so like I think a lot of people, when you talk to them about it, they're like, well, I mean, I'm fine. Like, some people have the time to spare and some people have the money to spare. And like,
but coming back to what Dan was saying, like, so when I've got my free time, you know when that is? It's actually when I'm laying in bed, Lady actually's gone to sleep, and I'm literally on my iPad playing a game. And I'll play like a Teamfight Tactics or a Hearthstone Battlegrounds or those style of games, like 20-30 minute hits of a game. And then I look at the time, I'm like, I could do another one. And then but that's kind of where my free time is. And it used to be my free time was, I'll create it in front of my PC for hours on end. Whereas,
and so if the argument is that, because there's two things, there's the people that used to game like this and the people that still do. So if what we're talking about is people that play the RPGs and still play RPG, like people that are still blasting PoE 1, like the overlap isn't as big as to what you're saying, where they aged out. If they aged out of it, they're no longer playing it then. Like they're not, they used to be.
And maybe, but they are watching it. And I think that's the thing that
watching.
That's what I'm talking about when I say that I think that, the groups that are coming to you guys and to other ARPG players, and like, the creators probably like, dude, none of these guys are going to like this. Like, way more people watch games than play games now. Like, it's significant, which is, surprising. But again, they aged out. They used to love it. They're like, man, I don't have time to let me just see someone. I want to get to a high level, because you always want to, when you're playing a game, if you're a gamer, when you're playing a game, you want to do it the best, right? You're reading all the guides, you're strategizing your builds, you're talking to your friends, you got your strategy or whatever. But you don't have time to, you don't always have time for. Some people can make, chunk out of time to do that, but it's really nice to see basically an expert and be like, okay, I like their take on this. I like the way that they think. We're on the same vibe. I'm going to basically play through that player. You know what I mean? And so that's where I think that overlap definitely exists, right? There's like the people
I would
that
agree with that. Like media consumers, enjoyers, they watch their work a lot of time. Like a huge chunk of the watchers of like Twitch, for instance, are on the mobile platform. So you have people that are, watching mobilely, that they're on mobile and they're at work. So maybe they want to try something else. Yeah, there's some overlap there.
Yeah. And And I think overall, like what I'm kind of getting at for the whole conversation is that I think that everyone should just get along with it, get along on these things. I mean, the reality is we're all gamers. It's like because I do get it. Like I remember
there's a bit of that, but there's also like a know your audience, I think, because let's say we had this pot of money, like let's say we got 100K to spend on advertising through creators. I'm not going to try and push all of that money into like an Asmongold and think this is going to be the big hit for us, because firstly, I think he'll be like, oh, it's not one of these games I don't really like, unless it looks like Final Fantasy or anime, and he would probably say no.
But he'll be like, it's fine,
and he'll just shit on the game.
I love it.
But whereas I think but also his audience, there's a good percentage of his audience that think in that same style. So you'd want to make sure that you're utilizing the right type of creatives that at least so DM's a bit of an anomaly here, because we know that DM actually enjoys this style of game, or has enjoyed the style of game in the past. So there might be this kind of like genuine reaction to the game to say, yeah, this is actually done really well, this is really cool, and I'm actually enjoying the game whilst I'm streaming it or whilst I'm doing a video on it.
I can give you an example of support. Like I actually did a sponsor the other day for one game. At first I look at it, I'm like, here we go. But it's called Go Muffin. It's like this kind of like random
stuff about.
I was like, it's actually, it was like actually kind of fun. It was like, it was definitely like idle XP farming. You pick a class for it's one of these, but you play. It's like, it's kind of, it's kind of fun.
When I first started playing that game for a sponsor, I was like, oh no, this is. Why have I taken this one on?
You're kind of like, and then it's like,
okay. After about half an hour, I was like, you know what? They've done a good job with this game. It's kind of fun. I had to do it as a collab with Ash, and we're laughing after doing the collab. We're laughing like it's actually a fun game. Like people are going to think we're chilling the hell out.
You're like, I'm still playing this game.
But yeah, it's a good call out. Yeah, definitely.
Go Muffin. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like Brad, for you, since I would say that you're also like pretty hardcore about this. Like, what are you playing these days? Are you playing like, I mean, I'm sure you're still playing StarCraft and Civ. Are you like in there playing gotchas still big time, or what's, I mean,
I really don't play other than just to stay in the loop of like, the new ones that I want to research and kind of stay in the know of what's going on in our industry. I'll try all the new ones, but in terms of like my free time when I'm not worried about work, I'm playing something competitive like Age of Empires 4, trying to get the highest rank or whatever, get good, learn new strategies. So I'm an RTS Andy. Like, you guys all grew up. Darth was talking about everybody grew up with MMOs. I never played 1 minute of any MMO.
Like, I was weird, dude.
I don't even know
so
how
crazy,
weird.
man. That's so crazy to me.
Just all in RTS, StarCraft, nothing else matters. It
was your sport basically.
I just love RTS. I think it's just everything a game should be. No pay to win, mechanics matter, knowledge matters, experience matters, speed matters. It's just the purest form of gaming, in my opinion.
Did you play League as well? You're a League of Legends player?
Nope, never. Not 1 minute.
Interesting. So I feel like those two cross over.
That's a big crossover.
Like,
it's too slow. It's too slow. Like I like speed. Like Diablo 3. I'm doing 100 things a minute. StarCraft, I'm doing 300 things a minute. League, I feel like you just sit in a lane and you like you. We used to joke in the StarCraft community, oh, you play League? Oh, I'm sure you're trash. What are you, silver? Like, we used to joke, like, the good players play RTS. The people who think they're good players play League.
It's so
I would argue the people that played the RTS games like StarCraft have to have, the AI move their guy for them, just click and attack. Whereas the League of Legends player, they have to actually maintain a competitive atmosphere with other
League,
people.
like, mechanically is intense. For people that play
absolutely.
it well.
Like to get the highest level in any game, you have to be amazing. It was just something we would joke about, like we would meme about. But absolutely, like the top players in League are incredible gamers for sure.
Well, to the point though, like a new hero comes out in League, and they've got brand new mechanics, and you see these pros, like literally they will just pick that hero, that champ up, and they'll just be like phenomenal, like to they're already pro level. I could play the same one for literally a year straight, and I'm still crap mechanically, and I'm just like, I don't understand how their brains even.
It's like a martial art. I mean, that's the best way that I've kind of thought about it. I think it's like a martial art. You know what I mean? Like once you get the basics,
it's more like it's like, well, I've trained in karate for all this time, And then you watch someone else doing taekwondo. It's like, I can do taekwondo. It's like the Matrix. It's literally like, they're like inputting a disc and it's like, yeah, it's done.
I feel like it's even worse too, because it's like, okay, if you're a basketball player, they don't fundamentally change the mechanics of basketball every season. You're not suddenly, oh, the hoop's 3 feet taller. It's like, no, you're playing the same game. You know what I mean? You understand the mechanics.
Yeah.
The League of Legends, they're changing the layouts of the maps. They're changing the champion balance. You have to relearn your whole career like every season. So it's I can't imagine the people that played League like professionally for years straight. It's like, holy shit, you guys have to be not only phenomenal at the game, but like you would think how tiring it would be.
Yeah, just like reading all the strategy guides and
16 hours a day for years. Like, who does that with any sport? Like, it's insane to me.
We gotta get a league pro in here, Brad. So you guys can trash talk it out here.
Me and Veiled Shot used to talk about that because Veiled Shot was a high level league player in one of the higher leagues, and so yeah, we used to joke about that and talk about that.
He was a challenger player. He was like the highest.
Oh, like seriously,
he's actually professional. You know, like good. So.
Okay, not I got really good, but yeah. Well,
we do have to have that debate sometime on RTS versus MOBA and who's the better gamer. Have some sort of tournament to somehow figure that out.
Well, so Darth, what about like, so I mean, because I think the biggest thing in my mind on a lot of these things is the competitive part. That's when when the difference between a gacha and like an ARPG, that's when people start to have a problem with it, right? So like,
sure, yeah.
That's what people complained about with Diablo Immortal. Because you to compete, and whether that was like in direct combat or just to like be competitive, you need to invest. We'll put it that way. You would need to invest in your account.
Yeah, the players that like wore the crown would spend like $100,000. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So like looking at that, do you feel like if, let's say for example, a game had that, but they also had a totally normalized version, where it was like, it makes no difference. It's all about your skill. It's all, some luck, obviously. Let's say it's like some type of a draft. Do you feel like that's gonna resonate with that same group? Resonate with like the group?
I mean, people will appreciate it, but you're not going to get past the marketing thing of like, this is a pay to win game, like pretty much ever, because Immortal has the same thing. I don't know if you even know it, but like Immortal has a non-resonance version of the game. Like the game's still ruined by the resonance system existing in the game, because you basically are saying, okay, this way we can say the game has a non-competitive mode. We'll just shove all those players that went down into this one mode, but the rest of the game is influenced by.
They didn't launch with it though, did they?
Yeah.
They didn't launch with it, Darth, did they?
They did not launch with it.
Yeah.
They added it afterwards. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So
they already lost the narrative though.
Well, yeah, of course they did. I mean, they lost the narrative before the game was out. Like, I mean, they lost it on stage. So and they also made the sequel to the game. I mean, Avi, you were the one telling me this when everyone thought Diablo 4 was coming. They launched with fucking Immortal out there, and then they did memes on the stage, and people. I mean, it was the worst PR nightmare literally all the time.
Yeah,
it was horrible. Even though the game was still fun. So it's Immortal for sure has it's a different ball game. But like, is that a good form for the game to have? Yeah, I would think that would be a good way to do that. And there's some games that the competitiveness, people actually kind of like competing against people that are stronger than, like Star Wars Galaxy comes to mind. Like there's this whole punch up thing. They'd be like, oh, well, I'm free to play. Free to play is like the Iron Man of gacha games, basically.
Yeah,
Iron Man, by the way, it's like the hardcore. So I was like, I'm free to play and I'll beat the whales just because they suck at the game. So I think if you make a game that free to play can compete with WoWs, there's going to be some people that are going to like that. Is it going to be like true integrity of the game? I mean, no, but like no game that has monetization is going to have like true integrity all the way through. Like exactly. It's not going to, but like a lot of the people, your target market for that is going to be different. Like there's people like, I don't have a problem spending some bucks in like Genshin to open a character. I don't care. It's for fun. But I'm not a good example of this because like I'm not really a competitive guy. Like I don't really care about placements on leaderboards. I never really gave a shit about PvP or like I just went to play the game and like have fun and see when my buddy got like, oh, what, y'all open the pack because what did you get? Let's both open some Pokemon cards at the same time. You know what I mean? Let's see what we get. Like that's what it is for me. So it's like I don't know if I'm necessarily a good representation of when we start talking about like competitive integrity because that's just never been my vibe. But I also don't think the people that are like necessarily looking for competitive PvP integrity or like opening up gacha games to fulfill that either. Right. So they're probably finding something else like we were just talking about. So
I would want your perspective on something because you're entrenched in the PoE kind of community right now. How do they avoid this like downstream of negativity for pay to win, because you can technically pay to win in Path of Exile. Like when a new league starts, there's trading among players. I can go on D2 JSP and I can whale out and get the best gear.
Sure, yeah.
Like
so it's combated by the fact
is that like a
it's-
marketplace in game?
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
know the
He's
mechanics of
he's
that.
talking about RMT. So like that's combated by the fact it is illegal within the game, and the game parameters themselves do not allow for this. And if you're doing that, you're going outside of the game's laws in order to do that. So it's like, can you do it? Yes. Is it actually part of the game? No. Like there's a difference. The company itself isn't directly selling you, and they ban
giant part of the game. Like it's like when I think of PoE, the first thing I think of is, okay, I got to get, because I mean, it's not even about real money trading. It's just about trading currencies in the game. Like you just, objectively, you're like, oh man, I got this really awesome item. I want to get a bunch more of this currency.
True, but
so
he's
I can
talking
get
about
this other
pay to
item.
win. Like he's specifically saying pay to win exists in Path of
Yeah.
Exile, which is like blatantly false. So I'm just clarifying that
Is
it
it,
does not exist in any form.
You would know way better than I would. Is it like let's say the top 100 PoE 2 players? Is it a problem? Like, are there people that oh, he's just a whale, he pays
People
for
get
the best.
called out for RMT instantly and like will get banned. I'm sure, I guarantee you there are people that make it under the radar and RMT and get away with it and all that, but it's like, if you get caught RMTing, you're a clown is what happens. And everyone laughs at you. No one takes you seriously. I mean, look what happened with Elon. He like admitted to basically having the pilot that's like plays for him. He's at the inauguration and yet somehow he's online like number 3 on the leaderboard. He get called out by everybody. So it's you can, if you want to cheat, you can cheat, but like cheating is different than legalized implementation of the same mechanic. Like where these are apples and oranges. It's not a fair comparison.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was just curious on your perspective. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because you just, it's kind of like steroids in like bodybuilding. Like it's illegal, but then you look at those guys and you're like, interesting. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Like
if you have to cheat, the difference is steroids like pushes up your ceiling, but like if you have to cheat to be on the leaderboard and be good in Path of Exile, you are dog shit at the game factually. Like you don't have to cheat and go out and like, I'm going to open my wallet at the start of the game. The people who are good at the game are printing the currencies that would then be selling it if they wanted to cheat, because they're good enough at the under game to know how to make currencies at the start of the game.
Yeah,
so it's not like the top players need
that's
to.
disingenuous though, because if you look at the top level of athletics in general, that's like saying like, oh well, you're dog shit because like people will be like, let's say this is, on my screen is the top, right? They'll be like right here, and then they'll push themselves over to try to win. You know what I mean? To be the top of the Olympics, to be the top of,
you get that
whatever
extra percentage of assistance.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not about them not being great athletes. They're incredible athletes. It's just, the reality is they'll push, they'll do the extra, they'll go the extra mile. So I don't think that's true. Like, I mean, Elon's an example of this where it's like, okay, yes, obviously, clearly he's not playing the game. He's not based on what we saw with his Dark Souls build. He's not a talented. This isn't his venue. I guess we'll put it that way. But yeah, I think. I mean, and again, no one's arguing that it's like okay or that it should be excused or whatever. But it's a very real part, I think, of all gaming where there is any way to do trading, any way to
exists. Yeah, RMT exists in the game, absolutely. If that's the argument, yeah, it exists and is a problem.
This was a struggle for us, is because we spent so much time trying to think about, how could we pull off trading?
How can we do trading?
Well, I'm interested though. You say it's a problem because it was portrayed, and again, I don't play the game, so it was portrayed that actually this is a really good way of doing it, and we should look at it. We kind of had thoughts around, could we trade items and all that type of stuff?
Not real money trading though. So there's like there's a marketplace where you can trade the currencies of the game within the game.
In game. And that's active, and that is regulated well.
There's in-game trading system that happens through their own means of trading.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but Sham, that becomes RMT because of
well then like after I traded you this thing, and then because I got way more than I'm supposed to, I'm gonna give you some money.
Yeah, like Fateless wouldn't be able to stop me from, hey Sham, I'll give you $100 and you give me these champions, like, and then you trade them in game.
Nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Any game that has player-to-player trading will have a black market. Like that is that
It's
is
just
a fact that will
facts.
happen. It's
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like going back to where we started the conversation, like all these games have very real incentives and cool and very real economies where players are basically trying to figure out a way at the the free to play players are trying to optimize their time and what they're given. People that are spending a little bit of money are just trying to optimize so that they feel like they're getting more out of their time. And then when you're at the when you're spending, when you're whaling like crazy, more often than not, I don't know, like I feel like the incentives for most people are less like, unless you're going like the very, very top to win. It's more just like, I just like having a lot of cool stuff. I just want I want my account. I want to go further. Like you were talking about with Genshin. I just want to have that character. I want to have that character boost. I want to be able to use that character today. It came out today. I want to be able to use that character today on my end game account. And I don't know. It's it's cool to see, like, it's interesting to see, as personally coming from never wanting to spend any money in games ever to I've definitely invested a couple dollars in some of these games at this point, and seeing, and I think that's probably the way that a lot of people have kind of gone over time as things have changed. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there. I mean, I guess I'm a little confused on like what the argument would be. I don't think there's like necessarily problems with like selling content in your game. Like I've been a Gosh enjoyer. Like I don't
there's no
have
argument. It's more just the crossover in community. That was all we were. I think that was kind of the general.
Yeah, I think the more hardcore you go, the less the crossover is. Like the more casual you go, the more the Venn diagram goes like this. Like the more there's people who are like fully mobile, there's people who are fully PC, and then there's people that just kind of like play whatever's big and in the talking point at the moment. And then among that crowd, you're going to have like a pretty good amount of overlap, I would think. I mean, I would consider myself one of these people. I'll try Monster Hunter WoWs. Everyone's talking about WoWs. I download WoWs. I don't even like Monster Hunter. I just wanted to see what it's like.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of people that will play whatever's hot at the moment or new game that comes out. Or
I would have thought you would like Monster Hunter. You're not into Monster Hunter?
I call it Monster Detective. Like, so the thing about Monster Hunter is like, okay, this version did it better, but Monster Hunter does everything. But actually, maybe they named it right. You do everything except fight a monster. You actually are hunting. Like I'm in Alaska, so hunting is like 3 days of misery and 2 seconds of joy. So you're like you're constantly hiking to try to have that moment, like, oh, there he is, boom, and it's over. And now let me haul it out and do it's the same thing in Monster Hunter for me. It's like, let me cook the food and click on the twig to find where the monster is and then chase the monster. I hit him once and he screams and run away, and then I gotta chase him again, and then I gotta carve him up, and then so it's like it's everything except fighting the boss. But the new one is
It's simplified. Yeah.
It's significantly better. I mean, you have to listen to a lot of yapping, but at least the fights are good. I also consider kind of like a Godzilla movie though, which is like people are like, okay, you say that, but then why would you even play it? Or because I thought it was a good game, and then people are like, how can you say that and then think it's a good game? It's like a Godzilla movie. If you go to a Godzilla movie and the acting's dog shit, the writing's dog shit, you have a whole bunch of garbage, but then Godzilla shows up and it's a badass Godzilla and Godzilla's killing everyone.
Yeah, let's go.
It's a good Godzilla movie. It doesn't matter how bad the rest of it is. Like you're there for Godzilla. So it's the same thing for Monster Hunter. If the boss fights were terrible, then I wouldn't like it. But they do it well.
Dinosaurs battling, and then you like picking a side. I mean, that was always so satisfying. Like go, like hunting, running through the trees, and then coming down and going like.
Yeah. People love dinosaurs too. What was it like Rampage or something, or Primal? What was the old like dinosaur game where you could
Rampage?
Do like
Rampage.
Yeah, man.
That's a good game. That's too funny.
That's awesome. Well, I guess as we kind of close up here, Darth, what's kind of coming down the pipeline for you? Just gonna be grinding PoE 2 seasons, or anything hot coming your way?
It's pretty relaxing time. Their Last Epoch's on the 2nd, and then Path of Exile 2 is on the 4th, so they're like right after each other, and there's some drama around that. But
yeah, I saw there was a little bit of drama based on like when they're dropping seasons compared to each other. They're like stepping on each other's toes and stuff like that.
Yeah, ARPGs historically kind of try to dodge each other. Because there is speaking of overlap, there's quite a bit of overlap between like each ARPG. Like if you're an ARPG player, you'll probably try the seasons of each one of the games, So for that reason, yeah, there's a little bit of discussion about whether or not it was intentional and all this stuff. So but yeah, that's what's coming up for me, just April. Until then, like it's actually pretty calm right now. There's not a whole lot going on. I'm just playing like demos and a little bit of variety. I might play Terraria today. I don't know.
Soraya. Nice.
Nice.
All right,
Well,
man.
we'll definitely link to a DM's stuff down below. He's always you still streaming daily? You still getting after it daily, or
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
nice.
I take a day off every other month or something, but it's pretty much daily at this
Dude, that's
point.
intense, man. I don't know. I don't know how we talked about this last. I don't know how you guys do it, like day in. Yeah.
It's just video games, brother. I mean, you're working the same. You're working the same shift every day. It's just I'm playing video. It's not so bad.
It could be worse. Could be worse.
It definitely could be worse. It's good times, man. And your content's always fun to watch. So you guys should check
I
them out.
appreciate that. It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I'm stoked to see the game when it actually comes out. So I wish you luck with a successful launch. Do we have a date or anything yet? What's the
Simon, can you tell him the date?
Yeah, let's hear the update and what's going on your side of things.
Yeah. So we're looking to have the beta out in May, and
okay.
I guess soft launch sort of September time. Actual release by the end of the year. So
soon.
Still a chunk of time to go yet, but it's chugging along
soon.
Honestly.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's right over there.
So I'm curious about that. I know we're wrapping up here, but I got a couple questions because I'm curious about the game development side of thing. If we got the time for it. Okay, so you're launching here soon. What is it like having a timeline where you're like, okay, we got to have, we're having this out in, this date. And then as you get closer, you slowly realize you're further and further away. And then you think about pushing it back. Like, I'm always curious because we're out from the other side.
It's pretty scary, honestly. I hate as well. I hate missing deadlines. Like for me, it pisses me off. And we have meetings with like the senior team and they're saying, look, guys, May's feeling tough. We got to do all these things. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to hear that. What I want to hear is how are we going to get there? So there's definitely conversations like that, and it is legitimate as well because you're looking at it like, well, we've got all of these different features we're trying to get in on time. We've got all of the characters to make, or the environments to make, and we set ourselves out in like 2-week sprints. So it's like, okay, well, what do we need to get done in this 2-week period? You chalk that stuff off. It's like tick, 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 right? And then it's like, what didn't we get done, and what impact has that made on the overall project? And if we have 3 sprints like that, suddenly you've almost created yourself a whole extra sprint. That's like 2 weeks extra work. So it's very intense. All of these 2-week sprints are intense, and we had these kind of like wrap-up sessions where you're talking about it. It's like, what the fuck happened? Like, how are we so far off on this? Or actually, well, it's always like clapping this team over here to try and get everyone else in the same sort of vibe. But
you see those guys, you see what they did. Well, because
it is intense.
It's all cascading. That's the biggest thing. Like to Simon's point, like when you look at it and you look at the whole thing, what does Chris always say? He's like, 9 moms can't have like one baby or something like that. Essentially, like you can't just throw more bodies at something. Sometimes you can't have more. You can't just say, all right, we really need to get, because everything is cascading, right? Like the VFX team can't come in until the animation team has done it, and the character team has done it, and the 2D concept team has done it, and the design team has done it. Like if this up here is too slow, Brad, no. Brad's doing great. But if this is too slow, then this becomes too slow. And it's like, the waterfall, all of a sudden it's like, there's nothing down here. There's no water. So like, I mean, shout out to the producers and everybody that kind of like have to take in all this information, mash it up into these giant Jira sprints, look at all the dependencies, figure out who has to work on what and how long it's going to take. And then, and shout out to the leads who then have to go, okay, well, based on what I'm seeing there, we need to shift this so that we can do this thing. It's like,
what's funny as well, though? So because we become a part of that cog, right? Because basically what happens is a build will go out and we're testing the build and we'll be like, guys, stop doing everything you're doing. And this feels crap. Like this is now what you're focused on for the next. And this is something they think they've already finished, And it's like, we're now focused on this week. And it can, and I guess that's why games get pushed back so much, right? Because you have all these best laid plans, and I mean, I hope we do hit the targets that we've set ourselves in terms of timing. But I'm not going to put out a shit game. So, if we end up being late, that's the reason. It's because you only get one shot, right? You only get one shot to impress people with the game that you've put out. So, even the beta is probably it's going to be more beta-ish than what most people expect a beta to be nowadays, right? most people think a beta is basically a finished game at this point, and that's not going to be where we're at in May. So perhaps we're doing it wrong in that sense, but we do have this group of people that want to try what we've done so far, and we're excited to let them try. So yeah, man, it's a bit of a crazy world, honestly.
It was like alpha is the new beta and beta is the new early access.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. And probably we'll end up calling it an alpha just so that we don't get egg on our
people
face,
get it.
Yeah.
It's creative rocket science. I mean, it's pretty like, I mean, Simon, you've kind of experienced it. Like, how does it feel to see all of the like the layers of this giant cake and like the chemistry that has to go into it?
I tell you what, like, it's hard, and it's the weeks are long and stuff, but the weeks are always long if you're working hard and stuff, I guess. But it's still really cool. It's so cool to be involved in it, right? So you're doing stuff that you love to do. You definitely can't complain about it. I'm in an industry that I wanted to be in. We're creating a game that I want to create, and I get to see all of these specialists doing their own bits of it, and it's fucking cool. But it's doesn't mean it's not hard.
It doesn't mean it's not hard.
Yeah.
It's awesome though. I mean, like the one we didn't talk about, the one kind of like spicy part is when you go to something and you say we can improve. Let's say we've done 10% of what we need to do on something, right? And then we say, okay, if we stop right now and we build a tool, we can make the next 90% go way, way faster. But that tool is going to take, X amount of time, which is going to eat into our time. You get what I'm saying? And those are the risk moments that are like so intense, because you're talking to you're talking to the engineer or the artist or whoever it is, and you're like, okay, how much time are we talking about saving here? Like, what's going to happen? Because then again, you're gumming up that pipeline again, and all of a sudden up here we have to like reorganize, and it's a blast, man. I'm right there with Simon. It's like what I love about organizing and strategizing, all the things that we like about these games really is what we get to do on a day-to-day basis, right? There's all those games where you're like building a company and you're trying to organize like your workforce and whatever.
And then actually the part we haven't really spoken about, which is equally intense, is you have to raise money you have to get investors in. Like, basically, you can't just fund these things. It costs literally millions of dollars. So raising money is also intense. It's kind of, you're talking to people about your vision. You're showing people this kind of like prototype build, which is not a full game yet, and you're like, but this is what it's going to be, and this is the size of our community. And they're like, that's great, but why haven't you got someone on your founder team that used to work at Riot, or it's tough. There's a whole bunch of like elements to it which are just you have to throw yourself into, which you don't expect, I guess. It's a crazy world, man. It's a crazy world.
Long and short, it's a blast.
It is a blast, yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you what, the weekends I sleep well.
Not this weekend. We got work to do, Simon.
This weekend I'm flying out to San Francisco.
By the time this comes out, all that will have happened. Like GDC.
Oh yeah, true.
And launching our cinematic.
Oh yeah, cinematic will be out.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's coming. It's coming, guys. So yeah. If at that point you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. I guess I don't know how we're like.
It'll be on this YouTube channel, I'm sure. So,
would you be down for creating your own game? Darth, is it something that you'd be up for?
My own?
Yeah, is it something like you'd be in, like, love to get involved in?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna be honest, because it's like there's a few things I've realized, which I'm sure you guys have as well, Leo, in the careers of being a content creator and careers, But what I've realized is I like games. I don't like business. Does that make sense? It's like, I like talking. I like this part. I like chat with you guys. I like, playing the games and talking the shit with the chat. I would rather be closer to a comedian and entertainer than I would like corporate. And so it's the more that I get into like, I just declined like a ton of really good sponsorships last night because they just weren't like in the vibe of like what I'm trying to do. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not what I'm realizing is like, there's a place I want to get to, but I also care about how I got there. And so it's like, it's not just from like a standpoint of like, what do I want to represent, but also like, I want to enjoy the journey. I see a lot of people that they get to the end And then, I'm not just in the content creator space either, like normal jobs, I mean, not everyone gets lucky to play games for a living, but it's like, I see people that at the end and they're just burned out and tired, and just exhausted with life. And it's like, I feel that way sometimes when I'll just go really hard. And whenever I start focusing too much on like making sure that, I'm doing the right content handy thing, I notice I start enjoying life a lot less and I get burned out more. So it's like, when I make a game, it sounds fun, but then I know more than just yourself. Like I know a lot of people that are making games and all of them sound like you're saying where they're just like stressed out and tired at the end of the week. It's like, I'm sure at the end of it, like you guys are gonna be way farther than I am in life and it sounds great and you're gonna have this cool product and a history and a company, but also it's like, man, you sound tired, bros. Like you sound worn out. So it's like,
shade.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
I'm just saying, it sounds like a lot of work.
This week I am tired, but I am also really looking forward to having a cool game that
oh yeah,
like this company built. Like it's tough, man. I get what you're saying there for sure. I get what you're saying.
You'll have a cool product and a cool legacy, and you continue to build more and more, and then you can hire people and help other people, and you have all had these access to these logistical great things. And it's like I get it, but it's like I'm just trying to sit on a beach here in about 5 years and drink margaritas. Like I think we have different end goals.
I don't know if I could ever sit on a beach and just.
Sham definitely could not sit on a beach.
Hell yeah, bro. Sit on the beach with an iPad and play RuneScape till I die, dude. Like, you have to realize, before the start of, like, Diablo and all this stuff, I was literally building a Sprinter van into a tiny home so I could sit in a van and play RuneScape 24/7 and do nothing else. Like, that's still my end game, Old school RuneScape to death is my end game, so.
Love it.
I could do something like that, but I still have to be doing something. I'd be out like climbing or something like that. I would want to be traveling.
Sure.
I'm like that guy who like everybody else is on the beach. They're like, all right, guys, let's sit down and relax. And I'm like, we're playing volleyball. What are we doing? Soccer? You guys want to swim? And they're like, Sham.
Darth knows I'm the same way.
I am relaxing.
Yeah. I'm exactly the same as Sham. Like when we going golfing, like let's throw the frisbee around. Let's play bat. Like I'm the same way as Sham.
I grew up that way, man. I can't go back to that. It's like, that's the way my family was. They're always like, we're going to do karate and we're going to go running. I remember my dad, he'd get in a mood and it'd be like, for 2 years, have to wake up every day at 8 a.m. and run a mile. That was just our rule. Like before you start the day, go run a mile. And it's like, you know what? I'm not like that. I'm not like my brother who's got a million friends and all these different hobbies. It's like, dude, I've been doing the same thing since I was like 10 years old. I want to sit in front of the computer and play games. Like that's literally all I want to do. It's not because I can't do other things. I mean, I like cars.
At least you recognize that. Like that's huge. Like that. I feel like it's awesome to know. It's awesome to know like what gives you happiness. I think a lot of people can kind of struggle with that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever that thing is.
That's true.
All right, well, let's get out of here. This was an awesome conversation.
Great to chat, man. Thanks so much.
It's great. It's great to catch up with you again, Darth. And to all of you, we will link down below to Darth's content and then hopefully the cinematic and all that good stuff that's new coming with GDC and all of that in the Discord server, so you can leave your input on game design and Godforge as well. So on behalf of Darth and Simon and Sham, it's been fun, and we will see you soon in the next Fateless podcast episode. Cheers.